Usually I start with music, not with a joke.
I like the laugh track.
Yeah, you're welcome. How about that for a start instead of music? This is the MedTech Jam session, not the MedTech, stand-up comedy routine.
People would trip out.
Yeah. We'll just leave that in because instead of being a blooper, it'll just be, this is what it's like.
This is this world right here.
Game. Yeah, we're playing the game. We're playing the game on the field. Playing the game on the field.
I love it, Mike.
Chris, so today's October 1st.
Crazy.
So now it's officially time to go out and get your pumpkin spice latte. If you're so inclined. I've been after my lovely wife to start making pumpkin squares, which is an amazing dessert. Anyway, so last night I went to as our listeners may know, Chris and I are both from Memphis. There is an organization called the Greater Memphis Medical Device Council, and their mission is to kind of bring all the medical device companies together and talk about all the unique challenges that they're having.
And it's a pretty big number that represents, right, for the city.
It's like 40 or 50 companies. And
yeah, and I think there's
tens of thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars of economic impact. So
yeah, it's pretty fascinating. But keep going. I want to hear.
So anyway, the conversation was more of a conversation. It wasn't a presentation, which is great, which is what we love because this is what we do, right? We have conversations.
Yeah.
But it was depressing, man, because they were talking about the challenge of tariffs, costs going up, prices going down. And I'm like, why are we even doing this? Why are we even in med tech? Seriously, it was kind of depressing. And then fortunately, we said, why we do this is we do this for the patients.
That's it.
And these challenges make it such that really smart, interesting people like the guests we're about to have on, Dr. Bill Morrison and Adam Greenspan from Trace Ortho, come up with unique, novel, important solutions that not only can solve patient problems, but address some of the economic challenges that we're all facing in med tech.
Absolutely.
So anyway, it was started off depressing. It ended up okay. And I'm looking forward to this conversation to lift my spirits. And so let me bring on Dr. Bill Morrison and Adam Greenspan from Trace Orthopedics. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Good to see you both.
Hello. Great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
I don't get
sorry for the blooper there at the beginning.
We're keeping it.
It's kind of fun.
We're keeping it.
We're totally keeping it.
Nice.
People love this show because it is lighthearted but seriously informative.
Yeah.
And relatable.
Yeah, agreed. So we're really excited to learn more about Trace. Adam, you and I have gotten to know each other over the past year. Dr. Morrison, you and I are just now meeting. We always love to hear sort of the genesis of the idea, of the concept, of the problem you're solving. But first, Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because we also love having physician founders join us because you guys bring a unique perspective. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Bill?
Sure. I'm a radiologist. Don't hold that against me. I trained here in Philadelphia, and I was in the Air Force for 4 years, stationed in San Antonio. And I always had a kind of engineering inclination. When I got to Lackland Air Force Base and Wilford Hall Medical Center, I noticed there wasn't very much support for us. So we had to improvise a lot. And what we used to do when we did interventional procedures is we would kind of make our own things to serve different purposes. When we were doing discography, for example, we had to make a curved needle. So we used to put a needle through another needle and curve the inner needle over, a syringe. So it would come out and bend. And so I figured, why not just do that in one step and make a steerable needle? So I designed it, pitched it to a company I knew in Sweden. I flew to Uppsala, Sweden, sorry, for all you Swedish folks out there. I don't want to mispronounce it.
We're huge in Sweden, apparently.
Yeah, I know. So, and they liked it. The head of the company was an engineer, and he had a fabrication lab in his backyard. So he made a prototype that night, and we went ahead with it. And it's on the market now. It's actually used currently now for treating pancreatic cancer patients, doing celiac plexus blocks to control pain. So,
wow.
It was a really interesting experience. I can tell you, going basically 10 years to get to market. And I learned a lot along the way, and it's encouraging seeing cancer patients being treated with my needle now. So
I'm
No
sure.
doubt. And did you even think it would ever show up at that junction?
no, I guess you can call it an indirect pivot. I mean, I had no idea it was going to be used for that purpose, but I think like in terms of disruptive markets, I mean, putting things out there that are, have potential applications for various things,
Yeah.
and having a lot of smart people in the medical field, take it and use it and run with it. I think it's a really great time to be in medicine right now for that
Agreed.
purpose. So flash forward anyway, sorry to keep
No,
on.
keep going.
No,
Good stuff.
please.
But at Jefferson, doing my clinical work, and I'm doing biopsies and tendon procedures, PRP, needling, and things like that. I'm seeing tons and tons of tendon tears, especially partial tears. I go about getting a partial tear of my rotator cuff myself, and then on the other side, and going to the surgeon, and they tell me we don't operate on partial thickness tendon tears, or they don't like to anyway. So I went to the gym and lifted really heavy weights, and I tore the tendon completely. And then the surgeon repaired my tendon. But I was thinking, like, why can't we just tack these down? And so at the same time, my mother started getting hip problems, and she had tears of her gluteus medius insertion, and she started getting gait disturbances and stuff. And I was worried about her falling. She's 92 now, bless her. So she's doing well, but she still has gait issues related to that. So it kind of accelerated my thought process, trying to figure out a way to take care of this, in a minimally invasive fashion. So I went to Home Depot, like any good engineer does, mechanical engineer does, and got some stuff and built a prototype in my garage, literally, and brought, to my wife's chagrin, brought some cadavers from work home in my garage. And
Wait a minute. You brought cadavers home.
Yep.
Into your garage.
Yep.
That's
my
amazing.
son, who's a police officer, was having dinner over that night. He's a police officer in our town. And I say, I hate to tell you, son, but there's some dead bodies in the garage. Don't tell anybody. But no, it was, I had it all approved and perfectly legal and everything like that. But and we, put the implants in, we scanned them afterward, and I took a fish weight device and did some gross kind of pull-out testing on it. I did all this in my garage, and it worked out really well. I mean, it had this humongous force, capacity to resist pull-out force. So at that point, I went ahead and decided, okay, we should probably go ahead with this. But after my initial experience with the steerable needle, I wanted all my ducks in a row. I wanted, to be buy-in. I wanted it to be something that's reimbursable. I wanted something with incentives where, practitioners would want to do this. And so I made sure all the ducks were in the row. There's procedure codes for this already. There's a lot of clinical need for it. And so that's when I went to our innovation office at Jefferson and pitched it to them, got a provisional patent, and then I met Adam. And that's the next part of the story is Adam and our journey through the process.
Talk a little bit about I'm curious about the mechanism of injury for these partial tears. Are they mostly overuse? Are they acute, or a bit of both? Talk about the scope and size of the problem.
Yeah.
It's all kinds of things. And, everybody listening here, I'm sure, has had some tendon problems in their lifetime. And everybody has tendon problems. And a bit of that is injury. A bit of it's overuse. A bit of it is getting older and degeneration, and your tendons getting harder, and things like that. And they start, really, most tendon tears, the vast majority start as partial tears, either interstitial tears or undersurface tears, or they start pulling off of the footprint. And like a bed sheet from a bed, they lift up. And then eventually they tear completely and pull off. And that's when the surgeon can do something about it, because the way surgeons repair a tendon is they generally tie the tendon with a suture. It's attached to an anchor, and they put the anchor in the bone. That's generally how it's done. So they really need to mobilize the tendon in order to do this. It's a full thickness tendon tear. So I'm thinking, why don't we intervene earlier and tack the tendon down onto the footprint while it's still there as a partial tear, and treat the patient's pain and also prevent them from needing surgery in the future.
Absolutely.
Cheaper way of doing it, faster recovery, and preventing long-term disability.
Yeah. Do you see, Bill, if you look at the market and, just to the point of what you mentioned, you needed to go to the gym to finish your tear so that you can get treated. I love that.
I was very motivated.
It's like, fix me. I'll break it further so you fix me now. So is it growing in popularity to actually get on the front end of a total tear and fix it? What's it looking like out there?
Yeah, well, from my experience, I think if you let a tear go for a long period of time, you can get muscle atrophy. And at that
Right.
point, the surgeons don't really want to touch you because even if you reattach the tendon, number one, it can pull off again. And number two, you're not going to get your strength back from the tendon. So
Got it.
I think it's important. And the surgeons are doing a lot of this PR for us, in terms of getting patients aware that they need to get these seen early on and treated early on, either with physical therapy, needle-based procedures. Hopefully our procedure will fit in that algorithm, and eventually surgery if they need it. But I think, the old algorithm of, oh, just wait and watch is probably not the best thing if you have a tendon tear.
Sure. I mean, everything is pointing towards earlier intervention in the continuum, right? Everything. And so to not do it is almost stepping back further in time, in my opinion.
Yep, it's cheaper and better.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look at the economics of healthcare, treating something early is the cost-effective way of doing it.
Absolutely.
So you're thinking about this as not an outpatient surgical procedure, but an in-office procedure. How did you land on that, and how does that work from a billing perspective? How do you think patients will think about that and respond to that when it's being offered, and who's going to be doing those procedures? I'm curious.
Yeah, this is the disruptive part of things is, a lot of it we don't know. So in terms of reimbursement, there are billing codes for tendon repair that are different in different areas of the body. In shoulder, it's a very well-defined coding system where you have to specify the type of repair. So we would probably need a separate code if we wanted to go into shoulder and rotator cuff repair. But for other areas of the body, like gluteus medius, which is going to be our initial indication, there are unspecified codes for it. So we're going to do a study when we get on the market and start putting it in patients. We have an alpha study that we have set up with a bunch of academic institutions. And we are going to look at the reimbursements in different locations, surgery centers versus office versus, radiology suites, and see how it's reimbursed. We're going to provide them all the documentation that they need for getting reimbursement, but it fits with the code, the terminology of the code. So we are hopeful that it will be reimbursed similar to how other things like tenotomies percutaneously have been reimbursed, and also fasciotomies have been reimbursed with percutaneous procedures.
Interesting.
In answer to your other question, who's going to be doing this? I think our initial practitioner is interventional radiologist who specializes in musculoskeletal care. And there's a whole cadre of us around the country that do this, including my colleague, Dr. Johannes Rodel, who works on the Eagles and has brought them to the Super Bowl. So
shout out.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Looking for another one soon.
I'm a Steelers fan, so we might have to cut that out.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be a tough competition there. But so initially, radiologists, I think, will do this. Ultrasound guidance is probably how we're going to recommend that this be placed, where you can directly visualize the placement. And so radiologists initially have that skill, but there are other, folks that have the same skill, including non-operative sports medicine folks who want to get into more minimally invasive medicine and procedures and treat patients more definitively. In addition to the fact that surgeons have an interest in using this during surgery to help make their procedures faster or to prevent complications. So we've had some surgeons that want to use this for biceps tenodesis at the shoulder. We've got other surgeons who want to use this to reinforce tendons as they do a total joint replacement. So if they do a hip replacement, they might put this in like 5 minutes in the gluteus medius to prevent a tear down the road.
Yeah, and dislocation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So those are the kind of things we're looking at. So it's kind of a 3-stage procedure of practitioner use, radiologist, followed by sports medicine folks, followed by surgeons.
Are you a medtech company prepping for a big product launch and are struggling to get the attention of your sales team so that they can hit the ground running? Or are you a medical device sales professional who is frustrated because you have to go to one platform for sales training, another platform to access selling tools, and then go to your email to check for important company updates? Well, here at Convey Med, we've built a better way. Welcome to Convey Connect. Your bespoke company-branded mobile app will become the single source of truth for your sales reps, resulting in a better trained, connected, and engaged team who will crush quotas. Organize your training content to accelerate Salesforce readiness. Customize your sales library so your reps can easily find and use the selling tools that move prospects to customers. Build culture and camaraderie with your own internal social media feed right inside the app. Built on a secure platform and customized for your needs, we can get your mobile app deployed to the app stores in a matter of weeks. Please visit conveymed.io to learn more and schedule a demo. So it's going to be ultrasound guided, most likely. How will the patients be? I mean, there's not going to be any general anesthesia, but how will they? Is it going to be painful, or is there? What do you the workflow of the procedure from a patient perspective?
Yeah, we would envision that's going to be similar to doing other procedures that we do, like biopsies and things like that. And we generally will anesthetize the periosteum of whatever bone we're working on and the soft tissues over it. And if we do a procedure that's a little more involved in the bone, we'll usually put a little long-acting anesthetic at the bone surface, like ropivacaine or bupivacaine. And that's what we would envision that would be all that was needed. Some patients, as with everything else, probably like conscious sedation, and that's perfectly fine with this, but I don't think it's going to be very painful,
right,
especially after the procedure once it's placed. In fact, hopefully, considering the procedure will be treating the tendon tear, hopefully they'll be feeling better after the procedure.
Will there be any restrictions on using that particular muscle for a period of time, do you expect? This is new, so we probably have to learn that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we found in our testing that it reinforces the strength of the tendon immediately. So although it's probably not necessary, we're going to initially follow the same recommendations that we give when we do any other tendon procedure like tenotomy or dry needling or PRP, and that is to do limited use for 2 weeks and then graded use for another 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is the material made out of?
It's stainless steel at this point because we wanted something that would easily get through FDA and would be easy to produce. We're going to shift, I think, to titanium eventually, and then hopefully to an absorbable material that hopefully Adam can talk more about because he's a materials engineer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Talk about the journey of, and it sounds like you had an experience with your needle, bringing that to market. Talk about the journey to bring the product and the company up till now.
Yeah, it's a long road, with the steerable needle, which seemed to me a very simple idea, taking 10 years to get to market. It involves engineering, it involves prototype development, in our case, raising money for all these things, and then testing, developing the packaging, ISO and all that stuff. And, with the engineering companies and dealing with FDA, and initial clinical testing and developing all the algorithms for its use and follow-up. It's all very complicated, but I have to say the most complicated part is the part of raising money. That's, everything else has been kind of going like gangbusters, pretty nice. We had to pivot at one point during development, during engineering, but it was a good pivot, which I can get into in a minute if you like, but I tell you, the raising money part is most challenging. Asking for money, I find very hard. Right. Asking friends for money is something that's very hard for me.
I can tell you this, I mean, and it's not just you guys, believe me, it's been a funky market the last 5 years relative to fundraising. And, ask for money on behalf of a lot of organizations. And so I get to be that guy. And it's, I don't mind the asking. It's like, Come on, somebody. It's show me the money. Anybody.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect segue now that Adam's back. Adam, do you want to maybe very quickly introduce yourself? We were just talking about the fun experience of raising capital in this market. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Trace, and then
sure,
maybe
Mike. Thanks,
ease
Chris.
into the fundraising side.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So Adam Greenspan, CEO, Trace, and co-founder with Bill. And yeah, he and I met at Jefferson. I joined Jefferson after a career in technology transfer, and my background is biomedical engineering and material science and patent office registration. And then I ran an incubator in Philadelphia at a wet lab research park for 7 years on and off. I actually was entrepreneur in residence and then back on the staff side, and then went to Jefferson and responsible for the medtech portfolio. And yeah, one of the first cases I picked up was this tech that Dr. Morrison was working on. And yeah, so Bill already had some interest from industry, like at the provisional patent stage. And yeah, there was a couple of CDAs in place just based on Bill's relationships with product reps coming through Jefferson. And yeah, there was some real interest. I think we went out to Medtronic pretty early and this was even before the company, and not Bill and I, we got approval to go and pitch Medtronic at a focus group over the weekend one year, and we hit it off. And Bill told me, hey, if we don't do this, somebody else is going to come along and do this, so it might as well be us. And that got my entrepreneurial mind ticking. And yeah, I realized after a few months that this was really where my passion and enthusiasm was. And as a biomedical engineer, I really want to improve healthcare, and this is really a perfect way to improve patient lives and mobility. So that's how I came into the picture. And yeah, we realized right away that we were going to have to raise some capital, and it was not easy. We bootstrapped this from the beginning. We got some pretty good support from Jefferson, and they ended up turning the IP back over to us after some negotiation. We were trying to spin it out. We didn't meet, and ultimately we got them to return it to us as the inventors. I became a co-inventor along the way, and we give them some consideration downstream. But we own the IP, managed it. We got a waiver so that we could continue with the patent council that they had negotiated some academic rates with. And now we have one family issued, another one pending, and so we're on our second tranche of funding. Initially, we just started with the seed round, and we leveraged some of Dr. Morrison's relationships. And he was talking about some of the cadaveric work he was doing in his garage, and he actually got some hip samples and did a proof of concept demonstration with our designed product and prototypes, and captured the data, did some quantitative pull-out strength measurement, and we wrote up a report and sent it out to a bunch of Bill's contemporaries in the musculoskeletal subspecialty space. A lot of them experienced angel investors, and got really good excitement and traction, and we were able to bring in some seed investment that way. And then ultimately we opened an A round led by Keiretsu Forum Mid-Atlantic. So it was angel money. We closed $2.5 million oversubscribed this past year, and now we just opened a $5 million B round with Keiretsu as the lead again. And we've had great experience with that group. It's enabled us to bring in some physician investors that will also be early adopters for us, and just gives us some control over our cap table and our term sheet, and has given us the ability to raise money as we need it. So that it's there when we're ready. And so right now we've reached the end of the road with our A round, and now things are pretty clear on our path to market in terms of 510K clearance. We have the pivotal animal study under our belt, and phenomenal results out of Colorado State. And now we're ready to, we have our contract manufacturing set up. It's established in the Twin Cities. And so now we're at the tooling stage, and we're ready to produce quality parts so that we can do our final verification validation on our delivery system, which we did not use in the animal work. So that's the remaining technical piece before we submit our 510K clearance. We've had great correspondence with the agency so far. So yeah, we're looking at limited market release in Q3, definitely Q4 26.
That sounds good. I mean, I think it adds such credibility
Great.
to have physicians on your cap table, right? I suspect when you went out to the Keiretsu forums and the other groups that you've spoken with, that the very users of the product have put up their own money to bring it to life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
especially,
right.
you know, I had a very easy time with my colleagues because, you know, the ones that were used to investing in startups, a lot of them see the same problems that I do. A lot of patients who aren't doing great with physical therapy, with their tendon tears, they're failing needle-based procedures. They're not either qualified for surgery yet, or they're old, or they have comorbid conditions, or surgeons don't want to touch them, and we can't do anything. So a lot of my colleagues are looking for something that's in between. You know, most treatments, and you probably know this in physical therapy, time at Smith and Nephew, you know, most treatment for things have a spectrum of treatments, you know, from non-invasive to very invasive, all the way from knee arthritis to, you know, anything else. And with tendon tears, there's a big gap in the middle between the conservative management and the surgical management. And so we're hoping to bridge that gap.
Well, I think that's a huge gap, isn't it? I mean, your own experience where you had a partial tear and then decided to go and exercise and bring it to its full, complete tear so that you could have it fixed. What a wild story. So you're right. I think the earlier you can intervene, I think the more likely it's more efficient. It's better for the patients, better for the overall healthcare system.
Yeah, I don't want to recommend that
Totally.
for your viewers.
Yeah.
Or listeners.
That's not medical advice. We don't give out medical advice on the MedTech
Not
Jam.
good medical advice.
No, but Mike, I do want to just add that we do get calls into Trace from patients asking if the Trace product or procedure is available or when it's going to be available, because people are experiencing this type of pain. It's pretty wide, and the options are very limited. And without any marketing or advertising, yeah, we're already starting to generate interest. So yeah, we really can't wait.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So what is your biggest challenge right now?
That is
Sounds
great.
like you're on track towards, you know, your final B&B submission for FDA, raising money. What's your biggest challenge? What are you focused on right now? What has to happen for you guys to be successful in the next 12 months?
Validation. Yeah, we need to show that clinical validation that show positive outcomes in our following the limited market release, you know, during this post-market study. And yeah, we've drawn up a pretty comprehensive study protocol in order to do that and be able to communicate this, you know, at the academies or in publication. But yeah, we really need to make sure that we get the right types of cases so that we can effectively demonstrate, you know, that the product, you know, is going to do what we're claiming.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic about that part because of our clinical testing and the fact that we have such great pull-out testing for this. And, you know, I'm actually more interested in the reimbursement pattern, like how reimbursement will occur. Will it be full reimbursement for the code? Will it be tied to other things like anesthesia, OR space that it's done in by practitioner, et cetera?
Yeah.
What are the clinical endpoints?
Well, improvement in symptoms and also functionality. There's been a lot of work done on repair of gluteus medius tendons surgically, and it helps restore function and reduce pain. And we have clinical testing that we're going to do as part of our alpha study once we get clearance from FDA. And we have a number of academic sites that are going to do this. And there's clinical tests that they do, like the get up and go test, where the patient sits on a chair and they have to get up and walk a certain amount of space and walk back and sit on the chair again. You time them and see how well they do functionally. And there's other things, questionnaires and stuff that they're going to use as well. We're going to get a good idea of how patients are doing over time.
That's excellent. You know, you guys mentioned that you have finished the animal study. Have you seen that draw more people from an investor standpoint to wake up to put money in? or are they still waiting for something more material to de-risk their investment?
I've seen that for sure, because that's been a huge risk mitigator. And the fact that we've already shown equivalence to the predicate that we have aligned with FDA on it allows us to vet some of the investors too. And if they don't recognize that has retired some of the investment risk, then I know, hey, we're not going to be able to convince them of, that we're viable if they don't recognize the value of this. So it does. And because at this stage we want savvy, sophisticated investors. Smart money is the term that you hear. And that's it enables us to just, I think, raise more efficiently in that regard, and kind of cut through some of the chase. And because that's really been big, is to have alignment of expectations. And also, Chris, with our previous investors, and with opening the new round, our previous investors have a pro rata right, as you would imagine, and so to mitigate and offset the dilution for the new money coming in. And just having that shows them, hey, we're proceeding as planned. Might be taking a little longer, but we are getting there, and things are happening as in sequence as they should be.
Outstanding. Awesome, guys. Well, if people want to learn more about Trace Orthopedics, learn more about your investment round, kind of where can they go to find you guys? On LinkedIn, your website? Where can people find Adam Greenspan and Bill Morrison?
Yeah, our website, traceortho.com. We do have a LinkedIn page, so it's Trace Ortho on LinkedIn. Bill is pretty active on X, formerly known as Twitter. So follow him if you want to hear about Trace or see some cool images from the reading room that resemble real life objects. And
it's kind of a humorous take on things on medicine. It's at Morrison MSK.
Okay, we'll definitely check that out.
You can email me if there's any investors or collaborators out there, adam@traceortho.com.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you. Congratulations on the progress you guys have made. Standing ovation for Trace Orthopedics, and we will be watching you guys closely. So congratulations, and thanks for joining.
Well, thanks again. Really great opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Now, that's a wrap. MedTech Jam Session with Chris and Mike D. We will see you next time.